Welcome to Makers International, a podcast of makers from 3 countries, 2 continents, and featuring 5 guys separated only by the same language. Here's your host, Richard Morley.
Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, good times, whatever time it is, and wherever you're listening. Joined with me, as always, Mr. Chris Cute.
How you doing? I'm Colonel Mustard.
It's a mustardy colour. It's not green at all. I don't wait. Every week he says, "Look for the little green light," and it's yellow. Alan's fortunately for Alan's got a power outage at the moment. I think he is not a real podcaster, according to Jamie.
Not a real
Oh, Alan, I think if you ever do listen to this, Alan, I think you're going to get some abuse tonight, matey. Joe's with us.
You're right, Tom, yeah.
Excellent. And he's live with the Maker's Mate. Still not sure if he's our mate, though, since he left us all to drown. It's Jamie Page.
How you doing?
Quick shout-outs and thank yous for this week. We've got Rag Ty, Andrew McQuillan, Refuse, Reuse, Jake Thompson, Jim Dockrell, the Red Smith, Hornhill Media, and our good friend Chad over at Mancrafting. So big thanks to you guys for getting in touch, and also to everyone who hit the like button and whatnot on YouTube. That does really help us out. So cheers for that. Don't forget, you can also catch us on all of your favourite podcast streaming platform things. And we do have some sponsors again this week. So very quickly, today's podcast brought to you in part by Yorkshire Grit, the wood turner's abrasive paste. If you want more information, visit Yorkshire-grit.com. Quick edit for you there, Joe. Also, our good friend Chad from Mancrafting. And we are still doing the monthly giveaway for one of Chad's awesome mugs. And did anyone see that on Instagram? I think he's
amazing.
I think they just, I can't wait to get my Mancrafting mug. I'm really, really looking forward to it. So links to all those will be in the description for whatever platform you're currently listening on, and also over at our website, makersinternationalpodcast.com/sponsors. Jamie's nodding. That's good. I got it right. Excellent. I'm going to skip the random listener questions from you just yet, Chris, because I've got a whole list of them here that we should be going through. And that, of course, is going to be our main topic for this evening. So I've got a little note here that says, look at my iPad, big long list of questions. So do you want me to ask the first question, or do we, in fact, before we go into that, should we just do a quick recap? How's everyone getting on with their router/scroll saw challenge project? So you guys, Jamie?
I've got a pattern, if that's any help.
Is it floral? I bet it's floral knowing you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah. it's a floral zombie.
It's a floral zombie. I thought, Jamie, you'd be working on the router because I knew that was going to take you longer. And there's only...
You must be joking.
That's
easiest. That's easier than a scroll saw.
Oh, okay. Because as of today, and this is the 15th of October when we're recording this. So as of today, there's only 28. There's only like 13 days left. Yeah, there's only two weeks left in this challenge. So people need to get busy if they haven't started yet.
Yeah,
and if
that kind of scares me.
I'll be totally honest with you. I have not got a clue what I'm going to do for the router challenge yet.
Got to pull your finger out.
I will come up with something. So
I think you'll have to come up with it pretty quick, mate. Because I haven't started either.
I'll be totally honest with you. Richie. Mickey Mouse is not exactly a Halloween theme.
Well, that was my practice run, and I can tell that you're running scared already.
Mind you, the portrait of me is kind of scary.
Well, that's because it's a portrait of you.
You kind of submit that.
Excellent. Are you, Jamie? Joe, Chris, are you entering this as well? Are you going for this?
Oh no. I mean, I would love to. I would love to, but neither the router nor the scroll saw is my forte. I'm probably would be better with the router, but the scroll saw. No, Jamie, I love you, but no, I'm sorry, I can't do it.
It's just priorities with me at the minute as well. Just got that busy, with all the different stuff I got to do. So if it was any other time, then definitely. I'd show you all up, but I can't, unfortunately. So you'll just have to make do without me.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wait until you're not busy then.
No, I totally forgot. That's my reason too. I'm totally busy. I can't do it. So I'm yeah. Thanks. Thanks,
Joe.
Joe.
Cutting boards, isn't it?
Thanks, Joe. Yeah. No. Shut up, Jamie. Shut up, Jamie. I'll do a scroll saw project if you shut up.
You heard it here first.
The problem with that, Chris, is that I thought if I did a scroll saw project, I'd get him to shut up, and it's just made it even worse.
No, that's my guarantee, because I know Jamie will never shut up, so I have no problems there. It's okay.
Good stuff.
What have we got, man? I mean, we've got a whole bunch of questions that people have sent us that we've, and I'm sorry for doing this, guys, because we can't address them all the time, but we have a bunch of them that have backed up that we wanted to talk about today. So let's devote the day to what we've been asked. So, Richard, what do you got?
Well, do you want to go through this sort of, on my list, they're all numbered. And none of them have got names of people that submitted them. So if you are listening,
well, that's Richard. Excuse me, that's my fault, because a lot of these questions are really kind of old. And before I thought to actually put people's names next to the questions, I just saved the questions. So, but the people who asked them will know, and the people that don't know will presumably get some value out of it as well. Hopefully, I doubt it, but we'll give it a go. Okay then. I suppose we better start then. I don't think these things. So the first question I've got on the list is from somebody. Thank you for putting the question in, whoever you were, and presumably you remember. Knowing that different projects call for different finishes, I'm wondering if out of all of them you have a favourite. If so, what is it? So what's your favourite finish?
Mine is always just basic spray lacquer. I tend to use the Morels brand, literally, because I haven't used a lot of different brands, but out of all of the ones that I have used, this seems to dry in like seconds, and I like the fact that it doesn't add too much thickness. I mean, I don't finish professionally or anything like that, so thickness, I mean, if you put a thick coat of, say, polyurethane, and the wood will start to feel plastic and even look plastic, this spray lacquer, it still feels and looks like wood while being able to build up many coats. So that's my go-to for everything. Unless it's got to be really hard wearing, then I'd go for a polyurethane.
That's really, see, now I'm interested, Joe, because I've heard a lot of good things actually about Merrells. Now, do you get it in an aerosol, or do you mix it up and spray it yourself?
No, I buy it in the can.
Okay.
That's a catalyzed lacquer. That's why the drying time on it is so fast.
It's really quick.
Yeah.
That's really. Where do you get it from, Joe? Because seriously, I'm genuinely interested.
Sometimes I'll buy it on Amazon, and sometimes I'll get it from Wood Finishes Direct. But I believe you can buy in bulk from Morels itself as well. So. Yeah,
I mean, most of that's why I asked whether you spray it. You buy it in the big sort of like basically like shipping barrels, aren't they? Some of them are massive. Because I know of quite a few guys who do spray, finish their own stuff, and they HVLP it and whatnot. So I'm genuinely interested in that, because I've bought the what's the company called? They come in either a green or an orange lid. They do a lot of wood turning finishes. Jamie.
Green and orange.
Green. Yeah, there's a spray can, and the lids are either green or orange, depending on whether it's the water-based or
chestnut.
Chestnut. That's the one. Yes, and certainly the acrylic fit. I've never had much good results from that stuff, to be honest, and tends to go runs out really quick. So that was.
But you guys were all talking about aerosol cans finishes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. That's a really hard question to answer, because it really depends on the project.
It's like Chris was saying. For me, for wood turning, I obviously go for Yorkshire Grit, which is obviously one of our sponsors, which you can just stop there with Yorkshire Grit if you wanted to. But after that, I'll go for the normal Danish oil, then Hampshire Sheen wax. That's that's basically three of my primary finishes: Yorkshire Grit, Hampshire Danish oil, and Hampshire Sheen. That's it. and it's just an awesome finish.
Well, my perspective on that is and it's a complicated answer because it really depends on what the project is and what it's going to be used for. If it's going to be handled a lot, you want to use one finish. If it's going to be an outdoor project like the barbecue cart that I made, you're going to want to use a different finish, and that would be my favorite finish for that project. There are a lot of projects that we make that I really want to have, like Joe was talking about with the lacquer. I really want to have a finish on the project, but I want to be able to still feel the wood and not have it look like it's coated in plastic. But in other cases, a polyurethane makes a lot of sense. So it's a real tough answer to say that I don't have a single finish that is my favorite, because I have different projects, and for each different project, I have a finish that would be my favorite for that. Like for instance, if I was going to do a bandsaw box, and I've made a bunch of them, if you make a bandsaw box, I happen to like bandsaw boxes that are going to sit on probably your wife's dresser, holding her jewelry or whatever the case may be. I like to have a beeswax finish on that. Just because it's a very thin finish, it's not going to take a lot of abuse, and you can still feel the wood, and it gives it a nice color. But if I'm going to do something from outdoors, then I'm probably going to be looking at a marine varnish, which is going to have a totally different meaning. So it's really tough. I think that you'd have to specify, hey guys, I'm making this. What would be your favorite finish for this? And then I could probably give you an answer for me. Anyway. See, that's the way I look at it.
I totally 100% agree with you there, Chris. I mean, you're absolutely right. There's no point putting epoxy on a bandsaw box,
a cutting board, or a cutting board. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But likewise, there's not really much point in putting beeswax on a garden bench. So it completely. But I think knowing that, there's still a favourite for me. I think I really like using oil finishes, just because they're easy, they're quick to apply, and then you can just dump it and let it do its thing until it's dry and ready for the next stage. But I also quite like shellac as a finish as well, because you can.
Shellac is probably, if I had to say one, Richard, I would agree with you, because shellac is probably my favorite overall, but you can't use it on everything.
Exactly, but I still think that could be a favorite overall, whether it's not suitable for another. You just use something that's you're not quite as
right. No, I'm with you.
Happy to use, as it were. So yeah, I think either an oil or shellac for me. And I like to brush shellac or mop it, as I think the correct term is, with a squirrel hair mop. And if you're going to get really old school on it. But,
and if you're gonna rub it out, then you start your French polishing methods, and with
the rubber,
exactly.
But then it very quickly fades from being your favorite, because
oh boy, does it in a heartbeat.
Well, that actually leads us quite nicely into this is, I think, a slightly more recent question, because we've actually got a name to this. This was a question that Ragtie asked. He wanted to know about how does the weather affect your workshops, whether it be heat, cold, moisture, curing times, etc. Do you guys have an issue with that? I mean, I have just all sorts of crazy issues depending on what time.
Not so long ago, the weather was joining me in my workshop. The roof was leaking.
Yeah, been there.
So, apart from that, I mean, I don't have a heater out there. If it gets too cold, I'll just put on an extra sweater. So I don't know if you Americans know jumper. But yeah, apart from that, like an extra coat, extra top. That's it. But normally, if it does get too cold, normally a spotlight or something like that is good enough to heat up my workshop. It's that small. But yeah, that's about it really. It's don't really affect any cost really. Only the cost of using of the tools.
Well, I can tell you, and I'm getting close to that time to where in the winter I have to move my glue and all of my finishes indoor to my heated area of my house, because my shop is not heated and it's not insulated. And if I don't do that, then I have to go out and restock my finishing cabinet and my glue every year, because it gets down to below zero where I live. And so, yeah, it's just not good for finishes and or glue, and trying to expecting something to the curing time on a finish at like below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, it's just not going to happen. It's going to be wet until friggin' April. And glue, it doesn't cure. So you have to bring that stuff inside. And my wife hates it when I do that, but that's just a fact of life. I mean, as far as, rain and things of that nature, that doesn't bother me. It's cold, and until I insulate my shop and can actually heat it, that's going to be a constant issue. So yeah, it does affect what I do during the winter months. Absolutely.
Where you are in the States, Chris, do you have the opposite effect in the summer, or do you have quite a temperate sort of summer season?
Sometimes it can be brutal up here, and sometimes it's not. This summer that we just went through has been extremely mild. And there's been times I've been out in the shop working and I'm just like dripping with sweat, because it's the humidity and the heat combined. But we had a very temperate summer this year. So I'm lucky this year. But the past summers, Richard, yes, that has become a problem. But when I was living in Florida, oh boy.
You get the opposite effect.
Oh my God, that's 9 to 10 months out of the year I had to deal with that. So it's not like I'm not used to it. It's just, it's different things to deal with. That's all. And the humidity obviously rises. You've got wetter wood that you're dealing with, and you've got finishes that take longer. It can be a nightmare. Depending on where you're at, it can be a nightmare.
I'm guessing, Joe, you have a similar sort of challenge to me and Jamie in that sense. Do you have to put your dressing gown on in the cold, or maybe a thick pair of socks under your slippers?
Well, I still don't wear any shoes or socks, so that'll never change. But I might put on some joggers when it's getting a bit nippy outside. But I've actually got like a little electric heater, because I don't want to risk running any gas or like flame in my workshop to heat it. So I've got a little, I forget the brand of it, but it's a red box kind of heater kind of thing, and it actually heats up the shed really good. And it gets to the point where it's like it gets too hot, so I have to keep turning it off. But as far as affecting finishes, it plays a big part with me with painting, because I do like to spray paint. And of course, if I'm not doing it outside, parents aren't very happy about me spraying paint in my bedroom. But other finishes, I always do those in my bedroom. I never do other finishes in my shed, purely because of the dust. So luckily the house is heated, so I don't have an issue with finishes, luckily. So that's something that's different.
I mean, the whole temperature thing really is something that I personally don't think about to my detriment, because then when you've got like a miserable day and it's a bit overcast and a bit damp in the air, and you go, oh, I need to paint this now, and then it's like, oh, that's why it's taking 7 hours to dry, and it does my head in. But in the summer, it's not so bad these last couple of years, because if you look in any of my sort of videos at the back, you'll see I put a load of polystyrene in, and to try and block the heat out. When I first started working in there, the very first summer, it was up to 50 degrees C at times. I know that
that's warm.
Yes, that is very warm. And the only reason I know that is, you get like the little alcohol-filled glass thermometers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we went to the garden centre, and I was like, yeah, it's really hot in there. And we just happened to go to the garden centre for another reason. And I saw this thing on the side. It was like a couple of quid. I was like, I'm going to get one of those, because I'm interested as to just how warm it's getting in there. And brought it home, put it on the side. I've actually put it on the pillar drill table. And then we had to go in somewhere else, and they left it on the side. And we were out about an hour and a half. And of course, the conservatory was all closed up and all the rest of it. And when I came back, it got so hot, it had gone off the scale, and the red alcohol inside it had just expanded so much, it literally blew the bulb at the bottom. So it just exploded and shot all this red alcohol, like as if somebody had just been stabbed in the neck, and it had just gone, and it just sprayed all up the window and all across the pillar drill table, like literally just someone had been butchered. And the scale on it was at 50, so then you get like a little bit at the top. So that's how I know when it's really hot, it gets up to 50 degrees in there, and you just can't work in that heat. I mean, even with the window and both the doors open and a fan going, it's just can't do it.
Yeah, it's tough. Let's face it. Those are the hard times. Like winter is my hard time, but you know what? There are, once you go through it many times, you figure out how to adjust and how to get things done. So yeah, I can still keep going, but it's not as let's put it this way, it's not as fun and it's not as easy when the temperatures are temperate. So Ragtai, I hope that answers your question. But yeah, man, I mean, you know as well as anybody, my friend, weather can affect everything you do.
Should be something we never really think about until you get to an extreme. And I mean, I can remember originally thinking, why is it a big problem for people? But of course, in the US, you're such a huge piece of land. You've got all different weather types, you know, from desert to Arctic, almost Alaska, Nevada. All that, you know, it's crazy. But, excellent. Right. So what's the next question? What's the next question on here? I'll tell you what, Jamie, pick a number between 2 and 10.
9.
9. Okay. So again, I don't know who this was. I meant no. Fine, I'll pick a number then, and I'm going to pick number 9. when you look at something someone else has created, do you automatically look at it critically, or do you first admire the work that was put into it? I suppose it depends on who the person is that made it, but other than that, you know,
I do tend to have a critical eye. I'm almost ashamed to say that, but when I see something that someone has put on display for others to go wow over, the first thing I do is I look at it critically. But if I just come across a piece that is sitting there nonchalantly, I look at the work. Does that make sense? I mean, if somebody's put this in a shop window to say this is the best thing ever, then the first thing I do is I look at it with a critical eye. But if it's a piece in somebody's home that nobody's talking about, I will walk by it and look at the craftsmanship first, and then I will look to see how it was made. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, because it's like when you go to a craft fair or something like that, and you see something that somebody's made for sale. You look at it, and the first thing I do is I'll pick it up and look at it, and you know, if it's a bowl, I'll turn the bowl over and look at how it's been finished on the bottom. And I guess Jamie can relate to that. Probably does exactly the same thing. But at the same time, you can. It's not criticism as so. It's not done in a critical way. It's done in a. For me personally, it's done in a curiosity way. You know, how does this person finish the bottom of their bowls? What technique does this person use? Rather than, oh, you haven't done a very good job of that. That's not the kind of approach it's coming from.
I think the best way to phrase that would be it's more of a quality check than it is I want to put down somebody, because I'm not looking to put down anybody, but if somebody puts something up on display for me to go wow over, then I want to check the quality of it. You know, and if the quality is good, then I'll go wow. If it's not, then I'll go, you know, I'm not going to say wow. Sorry, you didn't win me that time.
Because the other thing to think of, we say this, I hear it a lot in the maker world. You know, we're our own biggest critics.
Yes, we
are.
And
I think that's probably true. So if that person is putting something out there to sell, then they've probably already done that. And if they think it's all right, then it's probably.
You know, that's actually a good thing too, because that's a self-check that the community has within itself. So that's not necessarily a bad thing. I wouldn't look at it that way as being negative. I think it just you've got a lot of people looking at eyes that are experienced and know what they're looking at it, and they can tell you if it's quality or if it's not. But I love to go into like antique stores. I absolutely adore little boutique antique stores. I will go in, and I'd be honest with you, I've never bought a darn thing when I've gone in there because it's way overpriced. But I love looking at what they have in there that they're calling antiques that they're selling at this high-end value. And I always walk in there and I look at them, and I always look at them and I admire the craftsmanship first that went into making it. And I go, that is a cool piece. But then I go, secondarily, almost within a split second, I'll go, how was it made? And I'm curious as to how it was made. And so I look into it from there on. But so I don't know about Joe or Jamie, but when I first look at something, it really depends on the setting you're putting in front of me as to whether I look at it critically automatically or whether I look at it and admire the workmanship. It depends on the setting that the piece is in.
the way that I actually go about whenever I see something, it doesn't have to necessarily be something that hands have made. I've got a really interesting product design as a whole, because no matter what you look at, somebody has had to design it. From the simplest thing to the most complicated engineering project, it's been designed by somebody. So there has to be a reason behind why it was designed in that way. So you would look at it, you would call it critical as the way you dismantle things. But say if it's something that's mass produced, so say you're walking around IKEA or some other big box kind of store that sells furniture or other items, then I'll admire the design of a piece, of how it looks and maybe its function, and then I'll break it apart in my mind of how could I recreate that, and could I do it to a higher standard than what they're doing in mass production. And I also like to look at the costs involved as well, because recently doing those bunk beds not too long ago, I mean, IKEA gets slated a lot for the quality of the furniture and stuff, but the bunk beds that I brought from IKEA, they was really sturdy and they was dirt cheap as well, and I could not have made them to a higher standard for less money. So that worked out for me. Now, for other handcrafted makers putting projects out there, maybe it's stalls or YouTube videos, photos on Instagram, it's purely admiring the work, because that's where we get most of our inspiration, I believe, is from other people in the community.
Definitely.
So you see what others are working on, and I'll see a project and you admire it, and then it's, well, how could I put a twist onto that? Or I like that idea, but I might have done it this way. And then you go off into your own tangent. It's not being critical of their work. It's admiring their first original idea and then wanting to be unique from that idea, kind of thing.
Kind of goes back to what everyone always says about, basically making what somebody else has already made, but putting your twist on it.
That's it. It's very hard to make something that's totally unique. Like, it's near to impossible. So there's always going to be somebody who's done it before you. There's going to be hundreds, thousands of people that have done it before you. So it's tough.
I mean, the wheel has already been invented. It's just we're going back and looking at it and going, well, how did they make that wheel, and how would I actually do it? And that's what you're doing. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that's awesome, because you know what that is? The person who made that piece that you're looking at is an inspiration.
See?
Because they've given you an idea and you've looked at it and gone, I like that idea. It's a cool and that gets back to how you look at things, whether it's critically or whatever. I've seen a lot of cool looking things that I thought were made not so well, but I thought the idea and the way they displayed it was really, really cool. But I always thought that I went, you know what, if I was going to do that, I would do it this way. And then a few times it's inspired me to go do my own. And so it's an inspiration, if nothing else. And so there's no way I look at anything I see that was done by somebody and look at it as a fail. Because if they've inspired me to go, even if it's just a passing glancing on, I wouldn't have done dovetail joints there, I would have done box joints. Then they've inspired me to think about it. So I have a hard time with the word critical, I guess, if I'm to be honest.
I've actually got an instance where I would say it might sound bad, but I hope the way that I explain it doesn't come across so bad. Because I don't make things to sell professionally. I'll make for friends and family, kind of thing. And as you've said, we're our own biggest critics. So I always like to see pieces that people do make professionally and sell. And I'll look for mistakes and look for like not very good finish to make myself feel better. So if I've made something for a friend and I see everything that's wrong with it, and I'm thinking, no way would I be able to sell this if I wasn't making it for a friend. And then I might see something made by somebody else who is offering it for sale, and I think that, well, mine was made better than that. It makes me feel more comfortable that I've done a better job for my friend, kind of thing. So that's looking at it critically, and that's something that I do a lot.
Well, what about you, Jamie? Because I've got a very critical story. What have you?
I don't really. I don't think I ever really. Obviously, I joke around a lot that I'm better than everybody else. But I generally don't scroll through people's feeds on Facebook or go in shops. And if I see something I like, I'll stand there and some pieces I could stand there for ages just looking at it and just admiring it. I mean, my girlfriend's grandparents have got this. It's like a mitered bowl on their in their living room, and every time I go there, it's like hand carved, like all the way around the corners. It's like a basket bowl kind of thing, and it is just incredibly detailed carvings. And every time I go there, I stand there and I just can't stop looking at it. And it's just incredible. Just the craftsmanship on it is just beautiful work.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't know what it is. Every time I go there, it's kind of like that's the thing I go to. And it's like I'm meditating or something when I'm looking at it.
But is that how you look at
mean?
everything? But Jamie, is that how? I guess the question was, I mean, is that how you look at everything? When you come across, I don't know, you go to a car boot sale and find a piece of something that's made out of wood. How do you look at it? Do you look at it the same way you look at that bowl, or how do you immediately see that piece?
It's kind of weird when I go to boot sales and I see like wooden bowls, for example. It pains me to see wooden bowls just sitting there going to waste. So that's why I'm glad I've got a lathe now, because I'll go and buy them and refinish them. But I mean, take them Tigers for example. Yes, I am extremely proud of how they came out. But despite how well they came out and how long they took me, I still wouldn't go along and criticize someone that done a Tiger as well that only took them an hour. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
because you can appreciate what's been put into that.
Do you know what I mean?
I think it's a lot to do with the sort of the setting, because up until now we've sort of been talking about things that other people have made for either pleasure or maybe to sell. And if something is made to sell and it is of a quality which doesn't reflect the price tag, shall we say, in a particular direction, i.e., they want lots of money and perhaps the person looking to buy it doesn't perceive it as being that, then there's a choice involved. But doing work for people when they say, I want you to come here and do this, that, or the other, and yeah, okay, I'll do that. Instantly, people expect the very highest quality, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because the way that system works is, we want you to do this. Okay, well, I can do that. It's going to cost that much before you've seen it. It's like buying a house before you've even seen the plans. You've no idea what you're paying for, actually. And I have been in that environment. I've seen a lot of things where people have been charged for some really bad work. And one thing I'll say is I never go into a customer's house and go, God, bloody, how do they sleep at night? Because that's just unprofessional. I never slate other trades. I might think it, but I'll never say it out loud because it's just unprofessional. And the story I was going to tell, the first ever date I went on with Kat, we went to a little coffee house, restaurant-y, cafe type place. And she was off doing whatever it was she was doing. I was sat at the table and just sort of, looking around. And for some reason, I just happened to look down into the corner and saw this bit of skirted board, which it looked like my daughter had put it in. The joinery on this bit of skirting or baseboard was just absolutely dog. And you just think somebody has been brought in, most likely, to do that job, and they've charged somebody for that. It doesn't matter how much you charge too much because it's horrible. So then in that instance, then yes, I am critical, but I like to think I'm critical of my own work as well, because if we're all our own worst critics. There's no doubt about that. So, I hope that answers that question. Richard, we've got a few from. I know Richard Martin had one. I know Gerald the Redsmith had one, and we've got a bunch more that we haven't even addressed, and we're running short on time. So, pick one and let's see if we can knock some of these out, because otherwise we've got another episode in the wings, which I suppose isn't a bad thing, but it should be. It's always good to have material, as I say. Well, Richard Martin, I'm going to ask this one because Jamie is doing horrible things with his t-shirt. Anyway, Richard Martin asked the question, what's the best tool for making a picture and why is it a router?
I think he's just stirring the pot.
I think he might be stirring the pot there.
Okay, Richard, and I love you for that, Richard. But the best tool for making a picture is not necessarily the router. But you know what? I'll let Jamie have this one. Go ahead, Jamie.
I'm going to say a pencil.
Oh, because you could draw a picture. I get it. That's a tool. You're right. It is.
Yeah, or a pen. Or a pen.
Or a pen.
Or a paintbrush. I mean, you know, there are a few artists out there that would claim that a paintbrush is actually the best tool for a picture, but you know, just little guys like I don't know, the guy who painted Mona Lisa, those people, insignificant folks. But other than that, I don't think they used a router to do it with.
Or you could dip your middle finger in some ink,
like the old cave paintings.
Yeah.
Chop and stick.
Or if you've got a spare 10 minutes, you could Google Picasso and see how he does his paintings. If you've never seen him before.
You know what? I don't think I'll ever will see him, Joe, just because I know you. And no.
Joe's never going to give it up, is he?
No, we're not going there. We're not going there.
but
and that edit is on you, my friend. I'm sorry.
That's leaving it.
Right. Well, we're going to move right on from that. I'd love to visit that question in far more depth, but not with the way Joe's taking this conversation. So, could you tell me what you think defines a maker, or defines someone as a maker?
Anybody who creates something out of a material and transforms it into an idea that didn't exist before you touch that piece of whatever it is a maker. And I don't care if that's food. I don't care if that's a piece of paper, cardboard. I don't care what it is. If you take something that is in one form and transform it into another form, you've just made something.
Even if
that's my
basket
definition.
Winger from the Congo.
Yep, because you've taken reed from a plant and turned it into a bowl. You are a maker. That's my definition. And if somebody wants to argue with me, that's fine. But we're going to have to agree to disagree, because that's my definition, and it's not changing.
I think it can be clearer in the fact of it's literally just creating something that didn't exist beforehand.
Exactly.
Adding in taking one material into another could be kind of awkward, because, like you say, such as a photographer taking a digital photo, was there ever material involved to view the photo? You're using the light, so you created an image that didn't exist before.
Red Smith's asking. He said his little kid wants to be a fireman, but he also wants to know, when you were young, what did you want to be? So, Chris, what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Oh, don't start. You really want to start with me?
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's barely worth asking Joe or Jamie, because they'll give you the. And
I don't know. And maybe it's my age, but I don't remember where I got this notion from when I was a child. But I remember very young having it. I wanted to be an actor, and I'm talking from age 4 or 5 years old. I wanted to be an actor, and I actually became an actor, and worked as an actor. And realized that was a childhood dream. I probably should have left at the freaking curbside, because eating and paying the mortgage and trying to be an actor. Yeah, no, it didn't happen. But I actually did achieve my dream. That was what I wanted to be. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to be an actor on stage, not film. I was never into being in movies. I wanted to be a stage actor, and I became that. So that happened. So it wasn't like a kid who wanted to be a fireman and ended up being an accountant. I actually became what I wanted to be.
That's interesting.
I know
it happens very often, does it?
Well, it's really weird, but it was I don't know how to explain that. It was a burning desire I had as a child, and it never left me until I did it.
And now you're on a podcast with me.
Yeah, and I'm acting like I like you.
You still got the acting talent.
How's it coming across?
Well, the years of stage acting obviously wasn't wasted. What about you, Joe? Did you?
With me, it was like it'd change every week, but I think I was kind of typical. When I was younger, I was always playing football, so it was I wanted to be a professional footballer, and then it was more like I wanted to be a businessman. And I'm talking about obviously toddler age when you'd see like you'd be in Birmingham or something, and you'd see suited and booted, briefcase, power lunch on the phone, walking around thinking he's got all the money, whatever he's doing, I want to be doing that. I want to live like that kind of thing. And then you get older and you realise, well, no, that isn't a very enjoyable way of life, stuck in an office, like 24/7 kind of thing. So it's
when you
hard to
found out
say.
he was actually a salesman for Everest or double glazing firm or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Swiss Tony.
It's tough. I mean, like football, and then I did 10-pin bowling for quite a while, so there was always a notion of, oh, maybe I could do 10-pin bowling professionally, because I do know that in America, like tournaments, you can win decent money from 10-pin bowling as well. So,
Oh yeah.
but no, gave it up.
What about you, Jamie?
Well, I guess Joe could have been a pin. What about me? I always wanted to be in the maker trade, if you like.
Because you're
Yeah,
dead.
I always wanted. I never wanted to do anything else but do things where I could get my hands dirty. Like you all know, with my dad, he was on building sites from as long as I can remember. He was on building sites. I mean, he left the army when I was born, and from as long as I can remember, he was on building sites. So that's basically all I ever wanted to do. So yeah, it was definitely going to be something along the lines of either a trade like woodworking, bricklayer, something along the lines of a building site kind of job, you know.
Richard, what about you?
Well, I've been sort of trying to put the answer off because I can't honestly remember from being a kid. Well,
You're
Not that old.
You didn't have
I'm not that old. But what I'm saying is, I don't remember being a kid and wanting to be.
Well, let me ask
fireman
let me ask you a question, because everybody's aunt or uncle or somebody who was a relative of the family would always come over when you were a little wee lad, and they would say, "And what do you want to be when you grow up?" What was your answer?
I can't remember. I honestly can't remember. From up until I was anything before 13 years old, and I remember being 13 and I joined the Air Cadets because at that time I wanted to join the Air Force. I didn't want to be a pilot, but I wanted to join the Air Force. But honestly, from 0 to 13, I cannot at all remember wanting to be anything.
Selling confectionery at the beach.
You know what? That's not a bad trade. I don't know if you're certainly not going to be. You're not going to be living like Howard Hughes. You're not going to be living like Howard Hughes, but you can't beat the view. I mean, that's a great gig.
Genuinely, before 13, I couldn't tell you what I wanted to be. No idea. It might have been something like train driver or I don't know. No idea. Weird one, that. Bit of an anticlimax for that question, I think. Really, well, probably good to move on.
Well, Richard, can I help you out? Because there's one question here that I actually want to address that we've accumulated, and it's a real quick and it should be a real easy one. The question was, what is the first thing that you ever quote unquote made, and do you still have it? Even if it was as a child, and I kind of define the first thing I ever made is the first thing I kind of look at as being the first thing I put a coat of finish on. Because there were a lot of things that I made prior to that. But, you know, when you're looking at making something proper that can be used by somebody else, what's the first thing that you ever made? And do you still have it, or did you give it away?
I'll tell you what, yes. One of the very first things I ever made was something I made would have been in primary school. And we get it out every single year, still to this day, at Christmas, and it hangs on the Christmas tree, which is like a paper stocking. That's basically it. Just normal school glue and rubbish.
And And glitter and all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah,
glitter and all that sort of stuff, and that must have been when I was about 4 or 5. So it's lasted 30 odd years, and every year it still gets bought out.
Joe, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Rich. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, so nobody can criticise Jamie for the quality of his builds.
Yeah, and nobody can call him a newbie neither if he's done it from that long ago.
Yeah.
Which is even funny because that piece upstairs in the loft is actually older than Joe.
God, that's a scary thought.
Well,
and in better condition.
Yeah, definitely.
Paper is durable. Who knew? Joe, what about you?
Well, same as Jamie. Like, I think going back probably at school, we made like a star for the Christmas tree using lolly sticks, gluing them together into a star shape. But the definition that you put on it, like an actual functional piece, it would have been my computer desk that I made. Just made it out of MDF. I even covered it with, like, thinking about it, must have looked horrible, faux leather. And I stapled it all around so it looked like an executive desk kind of thing. But I haven't got it. I ended up chopping it up to make an entertainment centre. So like I reused the MDF to make something else, and that was chopped up years ago and skipped. So no, I don't have it.
Richard?
See, I don't have it, but the first thing I can remember actually making that wasn't like a macaroni and lentil glue thing that was a card or something from school would have been a similar sort of age. It was definitely an infant school. So how old are you when you get to school? 4. So I'd have been 4, 5 or 6, something like that. And it was like a coaster placemat doily thing, about 8 inches square. And you know that stuff that the cross stitchers use for sewing? It's like Hessian, really open weave.
Oh yeah.
That stuff. I mean, it's got a proper name. It was like that. It was like, you know, like Hessian sack stuff. The thread must have been like, you know, 16 gauge wire in size. It was enormous, you know, and a needle that was more like a knitting needle. And we did all these like running stitches and little cross stitches and things like that. And I actually gave it away, and it wasn't until years and years after that I found out. My mum was really disappointed because she wanted it, and I gave it to my auntie, and I never regretted giving it to my auntie until, you know, my grandfather passed away, my auntie passed away, and we never saw it again. It just got lost in time and whatnot. So for that reason alone, no, we haven't got it, and I did. But I know for a fact my mum kept everything I ever made. From one of them was a doorstop, and I think I must have been about 9 when I made this doorstop, because it wasn't like wouldn't keep a door open. It was just a random shape with a pointy end, and there's no way it would get under a door. But it was made out of a piece of 15mm birch ply, and I just sanded it to death and put some wax on it, and we've still got that. So that was the first thing I can remember. What about you?
Me? The first thing I can ever say that I made that was functional, I made from my mother.
And it was an arrowhead or something.
No. You know, and most likely when I did this, because I was a little kid when I did this, it just happened to be coincidental that it corresponded with either her birthday or something. I don't remember what it was, but I was out in my father's shop, and I managed to cut some miters on a piece of wood. It was my first time ever doing it, and I managed to create like triangles, like, you know, that were standing on end like this, and I glued them together and went, oh, I've got triangles. And I went, oh, you know what? And my dad had some sheet metal laying around, some little strips of sheet metal. And I glued and screwed the sheet metal to the bottom of them. And I stained the wood. My dad showed me how to stain the wood. Then I finished the wood. My dad helped me put the finish on the wood. And I gave them to my mother. And I said, Mom, I made you some bookends, because I made 2 of them. And they were like little triangles that would go underneath books, you know, and had the sheet metal sticking out front. So, and yeah, they were absolutely horrible, but you know, it was no, I don't still have them. My dad probably looked at them and said, that's just not going to be in my house, and probably burned them in the fireplace. So I have no idea where they are, but yeah, that's the first thing I ever made was for my mother. It was a pair of bookends.
Yeah,
that looked like looked like triangles. So I thought maybe she could put little dolls in little space or something. And I was, I was a kid. I mean, what do you want?
Just really interesting. Just to put a twist on this, it's not going to be applicable to, well, presumably not to Joe and Jamie. But do you have the first thing that your kid made that you can remember?
Yes, I do.
I mean, because it wasn't until you said about when you were a kid and giving it to your mum and all the rest. I've got stuff all over the place, little jam jars with paint on them and tea lights glued in the bottom and the old macaroni cards, just all over the place.
Mm-hmm. Well, my son wanted, my wife had a cold, and he goes, Daddy, what can we do for Mommy? I said, well, Mommy just needs some Kleenex. He goes, can we make a box to put the Kleenex in? I went, yes, we can. And I honestly, hands off, let my son build a little Kleenex box that you can put the Kleenex in that has a little thing on the top and that you can pull the Kleenex out of. And he gave that to his mother. So yes, I do still have that. And yes, she still uses it.
So I'm sure there's going to be people listening that will see both sides of that. That's just insane.
I mean, I showed him, I told him how to do it, but I made him do the whole thing. I made him make the whole thing. And yes, we still have that. And my wife loves it because it's the first thing he ever made. And he made it for her because she was sick.
That's
cool. Come on. How many ahs can you get out of that? I mean, it's like
endless ahs.
It's like, oh, what a sweet kid. Yeah.
Aww.
No, he's a dick and he's costing me a lot of money. I wish he'd graduate from college. Anyway, go ahead.
Let's give him a big arse then.
We've only actually managed to get through half of these questions, and I don't think we're going to top Chris's kids' R's. And
what?
I'm not repeating it, Jamie, because you can twist it enough as it is.
Joe's got it on edit.
So let's wrap this up then, guys.
That's what I was going to say. Let's wrap this up this time. I'll keep hold of these questions, and I think we're going to have to put these in for another day. So, what is everyone working on at the moment?
I'll go first, and I'll get Oscar on then. I'm going to be starting the scroll saw thing probably within the next couple of days for the podcast Halloween scroll saw router challenge. Because obviously Richard and I have got to do both. We've actually had a few entries into that, and they've been incredible, to be honest. Well, the scroll saw ones have anyway.
Not that you're bitter.
No, he's not biased.
I did have a fail during the week, but let's not go there. I don't want to be reminded of it. But what am I watching? I am watching OJ Stevens from OJ's Woodworking Craft. Now he made he turned a 3-piece Halloween decoration set, a kind of bit like a Russian dolls, the bits that go inside of each other.
Yeah.
But not. Now it was like a pumpkin inside of a pumpkin, but it gets better than that. Inside of that was a cat. So yeah, it was a pumpkin on top of a pumpkin inside, and there's a cat on top of that.
Awesome.
So yeah, it was brilliant. And what's even shocking to me is he's got less than 200 subscribers on YouTube, and he really deserves more than that because some of the stuff that guy does is incredible, and he's so supportive of the community as well. So yeah, when we post the links, go and subscribe to OJ.
That's I'm quite interested. I'm genuinely interested in how those Russian dolls are made, actually. So that'd be a good watch. That. What about you, Chris? Are you busy at the minute, or?
Yeah, I'm busy. I'm making toys, and I'm hopefully going to be making a lot of them. Well, a lot for one person anyway. Let's put it that way. But who I'm watching is Ryan Bitters from Waylight Creations. I'm sure if you guys aren't familiar, I'm sure you are. But if you aren't,
yeah.
Ryan Bitters,
I know what you're going to say here.
Waylight Creations.
Yeah.
He's doing a show called The Maker Report, and it's he hosts the show. And it's just a quick recap of everything that he's doing that entails pretty much everything that's going on in the maker community. It's just a quick recap of everything that's going on. So, and he released the first episode on Saturday, last Saturday. So if you want to stay up on things, find out what's going on in the maker community, events, what people are doing, blah, blah, blah. He doesn't, it's a no frills kind of thing. He just kind of puts it out there and says, here's what's going on. It's a quick way for you, especially busy people who don't have a lot of time to spend on social media. If you have a moment to watch this video, and it's normally, I'm going to assume Ryan's going to keep it, between, 8 to 5 minutes long. You can just get a quick recap and know what's going on. So I thought it was a great idea, and I wanted to give Ryan a shout out for that, and wish him luck for that show. So check out Ryan Bitters, Waylight Creations. The name of the show is The Maker Report. So give him a look.
I rely really heavily on things of that nature, because I like you say, I don't have time to spend loads, and I miss things, and then you don't hear about them until months afterwards. So stuff like that is always good for people like me.
Yeah,
who have
absolutely.
huge watch later lists.
A great idea. And so, Ryan, thumbs up, buddy. Good job.
Joe, are you doing another charity build at the moment, or?
Yeah, I've got another charity build on the go. I've got to get some more walnut though. So this week coming, I'll be actually hopefully getting the board that I need to get that done. I don't mind saying what it is. It's going to be a riverbed coffee table. It's been done a lot on YouTube, but hopefully just putting a bit of a twist on it. I want it to carry on with the theme of the walnut and plywood. So hopefully what I come up with turns out okay. But other than that, I've been playing around with lights, as people watching on YouTube might see. I've got some of those Philip Hue lights. So I've been playing around with different settings and setups with lamps and trying to see how it can improve my videos and stuff. And I'm impressed with them so far. So hopefully people can see some improvements. And because of all of that, I haven't been watching YouTube at all. So unfortunately, I haven't got a shout out ready this week. But yeah.
In other words, Joe's just freaking stuck up and doesn't want to give anybody any love. That's all there is to it.
Oh dear.
In actual fact, it was Chris that stole Joe's shout out.
No, it was not. Shut up. I didn't. Jamie is the instigator of this group. And no, it was not. Shut up.
One day we're going to have to make our chats into an episode, I think.
You know what? Yeah, it's going to be an R-rated show, so if you guys are offended by that, then...
If we're doing that, then there's no edit.
Yeah, you might not want to watch that show because...
Parental advisory.
Yeah,
definitely.
Not only suggested, but required. Exactly.
But I've been fairly busy this last week, actually. Anyone might have noticed I put a couple of videos out.
I have.
And you haven't watched them, obviously, but
no, I have.
You commented on one, actually, didn't you?
Unlike you, I actually watch my fellow podcasters' videos, Richard. But
So yeah, I did the one. I think it was about a week ago, or a week and a bit ago now, with the dovetail jig and how they work, because I know a lot of people struggle with those, setting them up, and I think their expectations are a bit high straight out of the box. Did that one, and it'll also do box joints as well. So I did a follow-on video for that with box joints, and everyone knows about how great the router is, Jamie, and all the rest of it. So he's yawning in the background.
There we go. Joe, we need to do a challenge with glue, just because it would be simple and we wouldn't have to put up with this. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. Is it someone doing a challenge where it's just wood only?
Richard.
Seriously, no, seriously.
No, I don't know. Focus. Let's wrap this up. Come on.
I'm sure there was.
You Brits have a short attention span. Jesus. Let's move on.
I have to. My brain has to be like that because I forget what I was doing. Otherwise, things get forgotten about. So I've been busy doing my own videos and whatnot. But I'm really excited about my next client job. I've got to build a big model railway in a loft. So it's going to be completely all bespoke to the loft, and there's a few walls in the way. So there'll be a bit of video in around that, I suspect. Not a build video, but hopefully for just because it's hopefully a bit different. But who have I been watching? Did any of you guys see Marius Hornberger's scissor lift table build?
Yes, I did.
Yes.
But it's not the newest of videos. I think it's a couple of months old now, because obviously it's got like a bazillion views as it should get, but I loved it because of the engineering aspect and the build quality aspect, and actually it was something that I sort of looked at and thought, oh, that's not going to be much interest or use for me, and then I watched it and actually it is. So another good example of pulling something out of the bag that was not necessarily relevant. Really good fun. If you haven't watched that one, definitely worth a watch. And he's funny as well.
Yeah,
he's great.
He's always entertaining. But so that's my shout out anyway. Yeah. So yeah, Jamie, do you want to quickly mention the contest again? I think I mentioned it at the start, but where can people go to enter?
You can go to makersinternationalpodcast.com and there is a tab at the top called Challenges and Contests. All you do is you go there, there's all the rules and regulations there. You basically submit a picture of either you doing the finished picture, of you with your scroll saw picture or your router picture. And you email it to challenge@makersinternationalpodcast.com. And the challenge ends on October the 28th. And we will reveal the winners on the episode of October the 29th. So yeah, that's basically it. And you have a chance of winning a podcast polo shirt and a podcast Minecrafting mug.
Awesome. So there's 13 days left. So get busy, people. Let's do this.
You need to get your skates on. I need to get mine on, definitely, because I haven't even started yet.
Yeah.
So, have I missed anything, Chris?
No, I think you're good, buddy.
I think we managed to vaguely drag it back. Joe's like, no, we're done. So yeah, I think that's just say bye. So yeah, where can everyone find you, Joe?
On makersinternationalpodcast.com.
Right, okay. Well, I've been Rick Morley. You can find me at... We're just going to finish it. So thanks for listening, if you still are listening, and we'll be back here next week. So you take care.
Have a good week, everybody.
See you next week.
Have a week.